Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Looks like we still got a couple more people. All right, we got a good group here already. We're ready to roll. Welcome
people are timely tonight. I like it.
Yeah, people are timely. Usually we're at 8 o'clock waiting for people, and you guys are awesome. You're on time. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, we're going to get started. We usually give about 5 minutes for people to get started. People are joining us on Facebook as well. Welcome on Facebook. Really interesting topic tonight. Excited about it. In the meantime, would love to get to know you guys a little bit. If you can find the chat, which should be a little window, little bubble at the bottom, it says chat, and just let us know who you are, where you're from, how many kids you have, anything cool you want to tell us. We would love to just get to know you a little bit. Lets us know kind of what we're looking at as far as the audience, and just be able to interact with you a little bit. So if you could find the chat and just put some information in there, let us know where you're from, how many kids, would love that. On Facebook, if you can do the same thing in the comments, that would be great. And that's also where you're going to ask questions as we go, so that at the end or when we take a break, we can be answering some questions. So we want you to be able to find that. So as I'm talking and you have a question, you can just go ahead and type that in there, and then we can get to that whenever we have a moment. So we have New York represented with 8 children. Awesome. Love it. Big family. Mother of 3. Shashu, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm probably doing really horrible, but from Michigan. Susan.
Woohoo, I love Michigan. That's
all right.
Where I'm at right now.
Kevin is here from Michigan.
Welcome.
He is it says tech help in his name. He's so much more than that, but he is that, and he's going to be helping us with that tonight. Raylyn, Kelly is a grandma raising 8-year-old granddaughter with a lot of letters. Oregon, single parent, 8-year-old boy. All right, looks like we got a pretty diverse group here in what we're dealing with.
Every time we do this, Steve, I'm hoping for that one California person. That's all I want. Just want the one California person.
Did we have one last time?
We did. We did have one last time.
We did finally have. Okay. I think we've gone, I don't know how many calls with a California person. Probably 20.
We have Oregon. We have Oregon, so that's close enough.
Oregon's close. And Jen's from Ohio. Ohio's not close. 3 grown kids, a couple grandkids. Okay, I need help with 4-year-old, very headstrong kind of kid. Awesome. Sarah from Wisconsin. Welcome. Couple adopted kids, 9 and 4. Good deal. Anyone chiming in on Facebook yet, Kevin? People there?
Nobody is there right now. So they all decided to be on Zoom this week.
Oh, wow. We had a bunch of, I think we had more people on Facebook last time than we had here. Everyone jumping in.
Donna, you're breaking my heart. She says, sorry, not a California.
Oh, I thought I saw the CA and I thought I didn't see the sorry.
Yeah.
Living in Erie. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm up in Erie often. Georgia. I lived in Georgia for several years. Love Georgia. I miss it a lot. 2 boys.
Did you see Linda from Florida there? I
did not see Linda. Linda from Florida with a 7-year-old grandchild, 2 grown children. I had 4 grandchildren and 2 adult daughters living with me, and they've both recently moved out. So I'm left with 7 kids. So I don't have any grandkids. So they were over. 2 of them were over today. I got to see them.
Oh, good.
Got to see them.
Oh, we have Mary from Indiana. She has 3 grown biological children and 1 adopted son, and he is 6.
All right. Love those folks that are doing round 2, that raise the kids and then start over with some adopted kids. Now, if you make it to round 3.
I haven't started round 1 yet.
If you make it to round 3, that's impressive.
We've got Marge, and she has 6 kids.
6 kids. See, my kids just all, there's no break. It's not 2 different waves. It's just one long wave. So I got ages 5 to 28.
We've got Chris Ann on Facebook with us. We got Kathy, and I think she's been here before. Kathy Kloiber. Kloiber. I'm saying it. You let me know if I'm saying that right, Kathy. All right, got more people coming in through Zoom here. I'll give it a couple more minutes.
Yeah, we have
If
people
you see
still
my
jumping
eyes
in.
darting around, I've got like 5 screens up. So just FYI, I've got my Facebook Live over here. I've got all my links up for you guys so I can post them at the right moment. Steve he's just here to talk about stuff tonight.
Yeah,
So.
the real star of the show is Kevin. Sometimes I have 2 screens, but I don't know how you do it more than that. You look like you're in like a tech war room too. You got all your stuff, you got your things on, you got the beams in the back, like you're isolated and ready to just handle all the tech stuff.
That's right. I've got my phone going. You never know, because I know sometimes people text me because they can't get in. So yeah. So I tell the family, I'm like, this is the war room for tonight. Everyone has to leave me be for a little while. And then usually it's just sound going off everywhere in multiple screens. So
yeah, very cool. You are. I'm just here along for the ride. I got the easy job.
And we've
got, if you're just joining us, make sure you find the chat and that you put just some information: who you are, where you're from, how many kids. Just like to get to know you a little bit. Yeah, we'll be able to speak to that. It's also important to find the chat because that's where you're going to be able to ask questions as we're talking tonight, and that's where we'll be able to find those questions so that we're not having people talking and raising hands and all that kind of stuff the whole time. We can just really easily put that in there. Someone with 6 grown kids, an autistic grandson. And Darren and Sarah welcome 3 kids adopted. Connecticut. You also, if you're not familiar with chat, there is a little drop-down menu at the bottom that says to, and you can message either myself or Kevin privately if you would choose to, and one person did choose to do that. I'm not sure, so I'm mentioning it. If you didn't mean to do that and you want to message the whole group with questions and stuff, you would check that off and just the whole group. But you can message us privately if you would choose to, for whatever reason. Facebook, if you are on Facebook and you want to join us in Zoom, you can message Kevin. Just message the Trauma-Based Christian Parenting page, right? Essentially.
Yeah, if you just comment, I'll.
Or just comment. Okay. Just comment and you want. Okay, Kevin will message you. Okay, so you just comment. I'd like to join Zoom. Looks like fun over there. He'll message you with that and get you on in. But like I said before, if you weren't here, you can do everything you need to on Facebook. No need to come over unless you'd like to. You can ask your questions in the comments. You can hear and see everything right there. So you're welcome to stay there. You're also welcome to join us in Zoom. A little easier to interact on Zoom if you need to, but you can ask your questions there as well.
Well, I think we're good, Steve. I think we got people everywhere they need to be. I'm just double checking Facebook. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and kick us off.
Right. Welcome, guys. We are going to have a great time talking about some difficult stuff, but hopefully we'll be able to help you guys with some answers and some solutions. But before we do anything, we want to put God in charge, and we want to open in prayer and just lift this time up to him and just ask him to cover this. So, Lord, we just thank you for each and every person that's here. We pray that you would just bless this time for them. Pray that it would be a time when there would be some light bulbs go off as to what maybe needs to happen, how they can change, how they can do things differently for their kids. Lord, we just pray for the kids that are represented here by these parents and grandparents. Lord, we pray that you would just cover them with your blessings. Pray that you would bring peace to them. We just pray that you would use this content, that people would hear what they need to hear, and that you would just give me the words to say that need to be said. Lord, we pray that you would cover this just with protection. Any warfare that would interfere with this or distract us or draw us away, Lord, we just pray that you would keep that at bay and just fight that battle for us and just allow us to really just have a sanctuary here to glorify you in what we do. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to jump into the content. While I'm doing that, as I've mentioned, Oh, is it gonna let me? Okay, there it goes. While we're talking, if you could ask any questions and just put it into the chat, that would be fantastic. I will let you know that the scope of this is limited somewhat to the content that we're talking about here and the dance model that a lot of you already have, that course or that book. Questions that go outside of that scope are just too broad to answer, and you really need a lot of the content that is in the members program to be able to answer a lot of that stuff effectively. So if that's the case, you know, if it's a question completely unrelated, we'll have to save that for another time when it'll be able to be addressed. But we're going to jump into the content today. A lot of you, as I mentioned, already probably have the dance model ebook, which is free, and the dance model course, which is pay whatever you can afford. Between you and God, pray about it. Let us know what you can afford. You pay that. It's all good. It's yours. So those things are available to you. If you don't have those, that is totally cool. This will make a lot of sense, but it won't make as much sense. The content tonight will not make as much sense as if you would have that material. And so you can get that material that will help you in the battles and start dancing with your kids, and will also make some of this make sense. You can get that after tonight's presentation, and some of this will make sense as well as if you attend any future Zoom calls. So we encourage you to take advantage of those resources, which are free or, like I said, for the program, whatever you can afford. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about extreme behaviors. And so some of you may be dealing with extreme behaviors all the time. Some of you may have extreme behaviors occasionally. Some of you are waiting and hoping that, that they don't happen. But when we talk about extreme behaviors, a lot of things that come to mind would be the verbal and physical aggression that a lot of us parents of adopted kids and traumatized kids have. Sexual acting out. I didn't know how to group all of these, so I just said feces and urine, where and when it shouldn't be. Some of you are very familiar with what I'm talking about. It became so commonplace in my home at one point that it wasn't uncommon. It was just kind of a natural thing for people to say, hey, there's poop in this. You know, it's just like, okay, like that's another day. Self-harm, suicidality, you can probably add to that list of things that come to mind when you think of extreme behaviors, but a lot of that is encompassed in those. So extreme behaviors, they're rooted in a very deep woundedness. These are things that run really, really deep for these kids. They're not things that are going to be just easily fixed. So we need to recognize and empathize with how hurt and how damaged, and think about someone that's physically wounded or sick, and how much compassion we would have for them. Sometimes it's hard to see these kind of behaviors as representing that same kind of deep hurt and woundedness, but it does. We need to realize that you can't rescue them with love. Sometimes we have this idea that, oh, they've been here for so many years, and if I just love them, it'll all be better. Okay. We kind of get this idea that it's sort of, just loving them and them knowing that and having a safe place is going to fix it. It's not enough. But you can love them through this. And what I mean by that is that no matter what this takes, love is essential for that process. So loving them enough to attend something like this tonight is loving them through this. Loving them enough to apply this stuff and to learn it and to go deeper and to get the resources you need, whether that be through us or somewhere else, that you are committed on that deep level. Okay, so love isn't enough just in and of itself, but loving them through this means you go as far as you need to get that help and the resources that you need. As big as their behavior is, realize that that's how big their fear is, which is leading to these just extreme attempts to survive whatever they're going through and experiencing internally. We need to always remind ourselves that it's not about you. They'll make it about you. They'll try to make it about you. They'll try to make it a battle, right? Because that's where they feel comfortable. That's where they feel like they can survive and can be in control to some degree. But it's not about you. Another real important thing to understand is that you cannot consequent them out of these behaviors. A lot of times I see, this extreme behavior is going on, and we're just consequenting. That makes the child feel even more fearful, digging in their heels. It puts you in a position of as the threat. Like you're going to do this to me, then I'm going to battle you. I'm going to fight you just the same as I fought the person that was traumatizing me. I'm going to see you in that role. In our comprehensive program, we do a whole module on consequences, and it's module 10. It's the last module in the whole program because we lay such a solid, strong foundation of understanding how to approach this before we even look at consequences. So to try to do consequences without that whole foundation is just really doomed to failure. So don't just, extreme behavior, extreme consequence is not gonna be helpful. So some of the principles that we need to think about here in this process. When you have extreme behaviors going on, you need to protect yourself and you need to protect the other kids in the home. Okay, if another child is being hurt and you don't protect that child, then we're allowing trauma to continue. Okay, so we need to do everything that we can to protect those kids and protect the child that we're dealing with these extreme behaviors. It's sad to say, but there are deal breakers. There are reasons why kids can't stay in the home. If a child is sexually acting out on another child, is violently hurting someone, is a danger, we need everyone to be safe in that home. And when I say deal breaker, that doesn't mean they stop being part of the family. Okay. Even, I even had kids as foster kids that it became very clear that they were a danger to little kids in the home. I had one kid sexually acting out and that kind of stuff. And they still remain part of our lives if possible. If they're an adopted child or a biological child, they don't stop being part of the family. Okay, so when I say deal breakers, it's like we cannot function with this continuing. And I want to then also stress that every extreme behavior can't be a deal breaker. It can't be that we're dealing with this is too much, just this child needs to leave. We don't want to do that lightly. Instead, we really want to have a plan. We want to put together a plan, and we're going to talk about some pieces to that, although we can't, we're not going to be able to cover this in an exhaustive way. And you need to know that this is going to take time. This is a process of healing a very deep, deep wound. And we need to really, really commit to that process. Okay, so in this whole discussion, kind of a broad overview of what we're talking about extreme behaviors. Like I said, we cannot give an exhaustive discussion of all of those behaviors, the sexual acting out, all the suicidality, all of that kind of stuff. So we're really going to focus on those outbursts, those extreme aggression and verbal aggression, and when things just escalate and get completely out of hand, because that's probably the biggest thing that most of you are dealing with, or the most common thing that we're dealing with. So we're going to go through the dance model and kind of talk about how these behaviors will look in each of these steps. So like I said, if you don't have the dance model, hang in there. It'll make some sense. Get the book, get the course afterwards, and it'll make more sense. The first three steps in the dance model, as you know, if you've been through it, is that developing that stance. So a lot of this stays pretty consistent where we get into a lot of the differences and the nuances of how to, move with our children. Where in this state, it's going to get into the last couple steps, but let's go over the first three specifically related to this. You have to see your child is hurting. They're very much impaired in their ability to handle even small stressors. So we need to decide to see that and accept that, that this is related to the hurt that my child is going through. So we see the child differently. We see the behaviors differently. The behaviors are survival. They're not defiance. And then we need to see the process. And I kind of always talk about adding one drop to the bucket. Oftentimes we get frustrated, want to throw in the towel. It's, it never works, right? We have this idea of it never works. But if in each situation, I think about if I can add one drop to the bucket, had one drop to the process of making my child feel more secure, one drop to the bucket of them realizing that I love them, one drop, and over time that bucket begins to get full and hopefully eventually be overflowing for them. Okay, so we need to decide to see it as a process and add as many drops to the bucket as often as we can, and not beat yourself up when you do it really wrong, like I do still sometimes after doing this for 20 years. You're going to mess it up, and sometimes you're going to take a couple drops out of the bucket. It's okay. You're human. Give yourself grace. Come back. Try to put 3 drops in the bucket next time. Okay, acceptance. Accepting that lying, should say the extreme behavior, is your child's best attempt to deal with what is going on inside of them right now. If your child could do better, they would. Okay. We need to realize that, and don't get hung up on the idea that, well, sometimes they do better, therefore they can always do better, right? When I go on a diet, sometimes I do really well, sometimes I don't, right? We can all see when we're stressed, when we're triggered, when we're in a different state of mind, we don't have access to the same resources, and your kids are much more extreme in that regard, that they're going to go into this survival place, and in that survival place, they don't have access to that. When things are good, when things are calm, and they're very rational, they have access to all those resources that they don't have when they're being triggered and stressed and overwhelmed. So in this place, in this moment right now, if they could do better, they would. Sometimes they are in a place where they can do better, and they do, which is what you're kind of pointing out when we have that discussion. Except that this is from the survival brain, based on past trauma, not the immediate situation. That non-judgmental and unconditional love, we're not going to judge the child's character based on a trauma reaction. We want to create security for your child instead of judgment. Everyone needs someone to be okay with them no matter what. And if you're dealing with these kind of extreme behaviors, that is really pushed pretty far, right? Am I going to be okay with a child that is constantly screaming and violent and cussing me out or pooping on the floor or you name it? They need you to. They're so deeply wounded that they're saying, are you still okay with me when I do this? And this doesn't, so this doesn't change the nature of the relationship. So whatever they're doing doesn't change the nature of your relationship with your child. It just disrupts the harmony. Okay, so obviously there's a break in the harmony that they cause, but you don't make it a break in the relationship, right? The nature of my relationship doesn't change just because you broke the harmony. Think about what God does for us. When we screw up, we break the harmony in the relationship, right? But it doesn't change the nature of the relationship with God because that's dependent on Him. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit some specific stuff for extreme behaviors, especially the violent and acting out and just flipping out kind of stuff. During these extreme behaviors, oftentimes, verbal communication might not be effective. So when it is not effective, you want to take as much as you can an empathetic stance or posture. Openness, calm. I'm okay. You're not, obviously, but I am, and I'm empathetic towards you, and I'm gonna position myself in a way that is protective. I'm gonna position myself in a way that is available. I'm gonna be empathetic. I'm gonna sit down if possible. I'm gonna, I'm not gonna be up and like ready to pounce kind of thing. If they are hurting themselves, obviously, I'm gonna stop them from hurting themselves. But if not, I'm gonna just be available and empathetic in how I am. Just sit with them sometimes. Sometimes you can just sit with a child that's going bananas, and then they'll be like, "Get out of here, leave, go. I don't want you here." And so then you empathize with that desire for them to have you leave, but then you let them know, but I can't because I just need to be here to make sure you're safe. Carry on. I'm just here to make sure you're safe. Okay, and they will continue to fight you on that, and you just and that then gives you a chance to verbalize some of that empathy. I get it. I understand, and I might feel the same way if I was in your situation, but right now I just need to make sure that you're safe. You're okay. Okay. So, and some other things that you can do and you can try when a child is really escalated, you can use empathy but by matching their affect. Okay, so elevating your energy and the presentation to match theirs, but your rate, so they're dysregulated anger, you're going to be expressive but regulated, right? So it's kind of like they're up here I know this is so hard. I get it. I can feel it, but I'm regulated, but I'm expressive, and I'm elevating to them. And it's almost like I go up to meet them in that elevated, escalated, extreme, out of control place. And I try to link with them and get them to, yeah, it is. And, they're then we're kind of connecting. Then I can begin to bring them down. So I'm empathizing by matching where they're at, letting them know that I really get it, and can bring them down. The opposite can also work for some kids, in some situations, is a kind of a mismatch affect, meaning you lower your expressiveness so far that it's out of character for the situation. And they're like, what, huh? What are you doing? If you're over there kind of like, and usually when I do this, I'm sort of being reflective. Wow, this is really hard. This is probably related to such and such. And I might just be kind of, it's hard without a situation, but just, I bet I bet they feel this way a lot, or whatever. I'm being reflective. And then they're like, huh, what are you doing? Oh, I was just sitting here thinking about how difficult this is for you, and how often you go to this place, and how that has to be related to just some stuff that you experienced that was really hard. I'm just so sorry. Empathy and reflection and, curiosity. And then they go back into the rage. Nah, blah, blah, I don't want to hear it. And then you kind of go, and you kind of, again, de-escalate, and they will be like, what are you doing? Oh, now they've called me into this. And so it's like they're up here and I'm so far down. They're like, and they come down to see what I'm doing. And then I go up and grab them there. Right. So they're up here, they come down to here to hear me. And then I say, oh, and then I meet them there and I say, well, I was just thinking such and such, and this is really hard for you. And I empathize and I'm curious and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So ultimately we want to link with them and help them regulate and help them be okay. That's that connection. So we can do that kind of with the empathy. With the curiosity, this is going to oftentimes be really difficult because it's not going to happen until you do a lot of empathy when they're that far into this. Okay, if your child can't tolerate this, so they, even if they de-escalate and you kind of like, and you tell me about that, what was that like? And you just feel like you're going to lose them again. You say, oh no, that's okay. It's okay if you can't do that. But then I leave them with a final curiosity or reflection. It's okay. You can't do that. I was just thinking, and I give them a curiosity or a reflection or something to think about, but that's okay if we can't talk about it. Go do whatever you're going to do or whatever. Then I might be able to later that night, the next day, I don't want to go up in an unnatural way and be like, hey, you remember whenever you were flipping out? Let's talk about that. I want to look for something that would trigger that discussion, something natural that would bring that about. Maybe something that would remind us, that brings us, and we both are aware, oh, remember that happened? Yeah, that was really hard. And then I might want to try to be curious. What was that like? What's going on for you? Can you help me with that? Be real curious. But I really avoid bringing it up if it doesn't present itself real naturally. So those are kind of the nuances of some of how to handle the dance with these extreme behaviors. And remember what we talked about at the beginning, this is a process. We're putting a drop in the bucket. Each time we're doing it differently. And if it doesn't work, whatever my idea of work is in that situation, it's okay. We did it differently. We broke that pattern. This pattern is new in our relationship, which may be 10 years if they've been there for 10 years. It may be new 2 weeks if they've been there 2 weeks. But it goes so much further back for them to the trauma that they're trying to break this pattern that they're in, this maladaptive pattern. We did a whole Zoom call on that a few weeks ago that you can find in the archives on the page. But that it's now so maladaptive pattern, but at some point it made sense, and we have to go back and heal that thing that happened that made it so difficult. But this pattern is not new to them. Okay, each drop in the bucket counts. Keep adding a drop in each time because we're changing the pattern. This is different. Wait, they don't want it to be different. They fight you. It is different. They can't make it they can't make it the same because you're not playing your part. You have some control here in how this pattern shifts. This is huge. This feels big, whatever you're going through each time, maybe all the time, might be feel like all the time. Just remember that God has got you. He's got you. He's there for you. As big as this is, God is bigger. And I really want you to really sit with that idea that, and sometimes it even is helpful for me that to realize the difference between where I'm at and my child is at is nowhere near as great as between where I'm at and what God is dealing with me, with how perfect he is and magnificent and big and awesome. So he is the one over all of this. He's got you. He's the one that's going to carry you through, give you the peace and help you sit there with a child that's cussing you out and really be able to click in your brain that, he's not talking to me. He's talking to his trauma. He's talking to that rage that he has. Let me just love him and do whatever he needs right now. So that's what we want to do. Kev, do you want to do any questions, or do you want to jump into talking about the programs? What are you feeling right now? You kind of might see the chats.
Let's get to a question or two, and then I'll chat a bit. But yeah, let's get to a question. And so what I'll say is, while we're answering these, if any of you have any other questions or something triggers you go, that's right, I want to mention this. Go ahead and type it into the chat. If you're with us on Facebook, so glad you're still with us. If you have specific questions, please put it into a comment. And again, if it's something private and you're on Facebook, go ahead and direct message us, and then we'll just read it as a general question. Won't let anyone know who sent that. And then if you are on Zoom here, as always, you can private chat us, or you can just drop it into the chat bar and we can take a peek at it. Okay, so we got one from Raylan here that came in. I want to read this. So says, my child beats on me. She only hits me. She does this in response to limits being set, especially about the TV and computer. Recently, she was disappointed in her dinner and poured about 20 bottles of water on the kitchen floor, creating an indoor slip and slide. The next morning, she started it again. I said nothing, got myself ready, gave her my cell phone, and drove her to the psych hospital. She's admitted. I am desperate. I believe she blames me for not saving her father from death.
Okay, so in that situation, you know the trauma. Wow, dealing with the death of a father, and I'm not sure we know the age of this child, but wow, yeah, you may have been at a point where she needed to go somewhere and at least get some separation and deal with some things. The hitting, yeah, definitely. Kids, even if the mother has no mother, birth mother, foster mother, adopted mother, whoever represents that mother in their life, grandmother, whoever represents mother in their life, typically gets a lot of that. Even dad, sibling, grandparents, if they let me down, in this case, even if dad dies, mom won't. And if dad died, or if dad did X, Y, or Z, or if this happened here, if mom really loved me, she would have stopped it. Even if there's no rational way for that to happen. So some of the empathy can come into that. I wish I could have stopped it too. I wish I could have. I know you feel like especially younger kids, they don't get it. And if the trauma is when they're, I see 8. Okay, she just posted. So it's been quite a while since dad died when she was 10 months, and she's now 8. Okay, so she's now entering 8. Okay, 8 is 8 is a time when kids naturally realize their parents aren't perfect. There's sort of this protective thing that kids idealize their parents prior to that, and so there becomes a shift around 7 or 8 where kids realize that mom and or dad are not perfect, and then begin to see, well, if you're not perfect and this happened and I've been dealing with this wound, even if I can't remember it, I know it's there. You could have stopped it. You didn't. There's this thing that you are flawed and now I blame you. So you may be switching into that. And so you can use some empathy related to that I wish I was too. I wish I could have stopped that. So that's some things without being able to go too in depth without all the details and nuances. But I think this will really help you And you don't let a kid, I mean, obviously you stop a kid from beating you. That's why I say you protect yourself. So you want to, protect yourself as much as you can. The bottles of water on the kitchen floor, if you can stop her from doing that without it being a battle, you want to stop some of those things. We can't do this. You can be upset. We can do all kinds of things, and we can do it over here. And if I can get her over there and be like, we're going to do it in this room, and I'm just going to sit with you and be with you, as much as we can. If that would be, she would overpower you or things like that. That's where it gets into, now we can't be safe because I can't really contain this in a way that's safe. So hope that helps. What else we got?
Let's do one more, and then and I'll talk for a minute here. If Donna here, she says, my daughter continually takes things that are not hers. We talk about it being stealing, and she knows it, but still gets into things that are not hers. She also goes into defiant mode where she looks at us and says, I'm not going to do what you say. So how would you coach Donna on that situation?
Did you say age?
No age.
Okay.
If you can put that in the chat, Donna, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, in questions
10.
that you guys.
Okay. 10 years old.
Yeah. So, stealing is obviously a pretty pervasive thing that a lot of these kids have, and I need to take because I can't trust. So a lot of this comes down to trusting the parent. I don't trust you to provide, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to do it on my own. Traumatized kids tend to attach to things and use people, as opposed to attach to people and use things. Okay, so a lot of times stealing is, I'm gonna attach to this thing. I'm gonna take this thing. I'm gonna feel powerful. I'm gonna feel in control, and essentially I'm gonna disregard or use you and make you mad and make you the object of my control. You can. It's hard because a lot of this would get into some of the consequences of things like that we really don't have the basis for. But empathizing with that need, and you can even empathize with and just say, this shows me that you haven't been able to feel secure here, and I'm so sorry I haven't been able to create that environment to feel secure. Not taking the blame for her behavior, but saying that I do have a responsibility to help you feel secure. And I'm sorry that I haven't been able to do that. That kind of stinks. Can you tell me what that feels like? And what was the other piece to that? The stealing and just defiance, right?
Right.
I'm not going to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
She also just said that she thinks some of this has happened because her older sister, who's been home since March, just went back to college.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever you have that and you get to the curiosity part of the dance of just wondering, that's been pretty tough for you. Can you tell me about that? So we have a connection to, okay, there may have been other traumas or anything in the past, but this is the immediate trigger. If I can relate it to that and say, that's really tough, can you tell me what that's like? And then I can say, and I'll bet that's like when this happened, right? There was some kind of trauma, some kind of loss, something that happened in the past that was bigger, that's causing this to trigger that bigger thing. So if I have that anchor point now that this is what's making you feel this way and that sucks, tell me about it. And I'll bet that's kind of like this. Now we begin to relate it to what's going on in the past that starts to heal that process. So
let's take a pause real quick for a second here, Steve. We don't need to put up slides. I just wanted to chat with people about, you guys are asking a lot of great questions tonight. And so what I wanted to just share with you for just a moment is just some resources that we have for you. I'm going to drop a couple things in the chat just so that you can have some different links if you are looking for more information. And don't worry, all your questions that we've seen, I'm going to make sure we get to all of them. If any of you have any other questions, please keep dropping them in the chat. But essentially, if those of you got the book, great, we got this dance model course. And simply this, it's 8 videos that kind of break down all those things you heard tonight: the decision, empathy, curiosity, all of that, non-judgmental, all those pieces that go into helping you really dance with your child and kind of work with these behaviors. They're each course or each video of that series is about 25, 30 minutes. So it's a lot more than what we can do tonight.
And it really is just an expansion on one of the modules that we have in our comprehensive program. And so again, it's one of those many tools, right? It's a great thing to keep in your tool belt. It's a great hammer, but you also need a screwdriver. You also need a wrench. You also need the whole tool belt, and really this paradigm shift. And so, so this is again just one of those pieces, and that is a pay what you can afford, which I've dropped in the chat there, so you can see it's the dance model order link that I have there. And then there's the full thing. And really the big difference, if I was to just very quickly describe what the big difference between our trauma-based Christian parenting comprehensive program is, instead of just having the 8 video series with the dance model, we give you 10. Some of them have multiple videos in them. Some of them are just 1 or 2. But all of these modules that are just foundational. We talk about, when do you actually deal with consequences? How do you make a plan and vision map what it looks like for you and your family to heal? We talk about like actually learning how is the brain wired, so that you have all of this language when stuff like this happens, when if kids are stealing or they're dumping water bottles on the floor. You're like, oh, that's right. We talked about that. Oh, that's right. I saw that in the course. And it really gives you power, because one of the biggest things in this, I know, as we've spoken to many parents, is there's so much to deal with. And when you can name it, it makes it that much less powerful. And honestly, we just give you tons of wisdom to be able to apply to these different situations. But even more than that, it's really this comprehensive shift in mindset. It's a giant paradigm shift in how to see your kids. And it really helps you use all of those tools more effectively. And so here's the big things that we have: real-time support. So you get access to our private Facebook members only group, where you can ask those questions. Other trauma-based Christian parenting experts like you go in there, answer their questions, or people that have literally been doing this for some people have been in there for years. And they're able to empathize with you, share their stories, share their opinions, and also Steve and some of our other staff at Trauma-Based Christian Parenting are in there too, answering all of your questions. And the great thing is you get lifetime access. So some of you have 10-year-olds. Those 10-year-olds are going to be 15. Some of you have 5-year-olds. When they turn 7, everything changes. And so you get this forever. And the great thing is it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So no questions asked. You do this for 30 days, money back. We don't, we want you to get in there and try it out, test it out. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. So that is available to you. And just know this program is organic. Right now, it's at 10 modules with this bonus dance module. That is this expanded version of the dance model. But we're adding modules and research. We're going back and reformatting, redoing. And so you're constantly getting top of the line content and research in the trauma-based parenting field that comes with our Christian approach. And so this will probably be something that gets up to about $997 or higher. But once you're in. We never charge you again. You get it for a lifetime. And so just so you know, we have available to you, it's actually longer than 24 hours, but we'll have it available to you through Sunday this week. But there's $200 off for this enrollment period. You can jump in there with us. And then we do have a payment plan program. If you need that, go ahead and email me. There's been some issues with the site currently that I'm working on, trying to get that working. But yeah, so it's $497 for you, or if you want that payment plan, you can email me. We can get you started on that. So all of those links I've dropped in the chat. You'll also get emails about that over the next couple of weeks. And then we also want to extend you kind of an expanded money back guarantee. It's 30 days, no questions asked. It's there. Once you get past the 30 days, then we have what we still do a 90-day money back guarantee. And what that means is if you've given the program a good try, you've gone through 80% of the course, we can see how far you've gone in the videos. You've come to 3 coaching calls, which we offer actual, it's small group. So it's usually less than 5 people. And we do like these hour sessions. It's a big distinctive with our comprehensive program. We have those coaching calls available to you again in the course, where you can ask, you actually get to talk through some of these specific circumstantial questions you guys like you have tonight. But if you do 80% of the course, you go through the coaching calls, gosh, this isn't working, we'll give your money back. So we just want to make and take away as many of the barriers as possible for you. Just know that that is available. So great. So with that, got those links in the chat there. If you have questions, my email's in there as well. But let's get to some more of these questions. So we have Lori from Facebook, Steve.
Okay.
And she says her 6-year-old son acts out tremendously. A lot of the aggressive behaviors that you discussed. But at dad's house, or really anyone else's house, he is so well behaved. He and I both have experienced trauma, some of the same trauma, which means there's some commonality there. How do I break that chain?
Okay, so we have joint custody at dad's house, mom's house. There's a huge difference. So I think I mean, what we talked about before, mom being kind of the safest person to take this out on, right? Mom is the one that is safest and should never let us down. And so whatever's happening, oftentimes kids internalize that that's mom's fault. They're going to take it out on you as mom. You couple that with the idea that you've both been through some similar traumas, so they're kind of you're kind of maybe triggering each other, or even just emotionally or subconsciously. There's some triggering going on, and so get out of any of the comparison, and really just anytime that's brought up by your child, by dad, by whoever. This isn't a comparison. We're in this together. We're gonna get through this. Really take this out of that kind of discussion. Even kind of in your head, that this is somehow I'm doing worse than they're, blah blah blah. And I'm sure there's people that are feeding that for you. Unfortunately, that's typically the case. And then just really commit to this process in the home of just really dancing with these behaviors. And you've got two patterns that have your pattern through your trauma, what you're experiencing, your child's pattern, and whatever pattern that created together. Okay, that's what you're experiencing over and over again. Empathy for yourself. Sometimes we've talked about in previous calls, just that idea of dancing with yourself, in a sense, really giving yourself that empathy, experiencing the empathy from God, experiencing the empathy from other people if you can, and then doing that for your child as well, and that you're going to heal together, and we're going to change this pattern. And it really is pretty amazing when you make a commitment to shift the pattern. It throws things off, and it gives opportunities to do something different. So yeah, that would be the starting point, I'd say, for that.
That's good. Another question. This person says, our grandson is now 5. He was born addicted to opiates. Is this considered trauma that the dance model would be able to help?
So yes, I mean, so this is a communication strategy that helps rewire what's going on in the brain. And as Kevin kind of talked about in the comprehensive program, we really get into unpacking everything that's going on in the child's brain. So this is based on a brain-based model of understanding that what's going on in your child's brain needs to be reprogrammed and rewired. And that is true for any trauma, regardless of what it is. So birth trauma, medical trauma, the opiates, all of that has been internalized by this child on some level. And the idea that it can't be that because they don't remember it, which we sometimes hear from even very well-meaning professionals and doctors, et cetera, is just patently wrong. You go online at conception, you store information based on all of your experiences. And just think about the absurdity of that. We could just put kids in a box until they're 3 and then take them out, and they wouldn't remember that first 3 years, and then they'd be fine. That's not how we develop. Those early years are important. We attach to our kids. We love our kids. We do these things. We do all kinds of things. Like people even sing to plants because it's, we do all kinds of things when people can't remember. So those things are definitely traumas that affected the brain development and how it's wired and the patterns that were created. And the dance model is there to help unwire that or change that process.
All right. Question here from Colin and Cindy. Have you had any situations where you've had to terminate a foster child placement due to extreme behaviors? How did you handle that emotionally? We had to do this and feel bad. I think if I had this course at that time, we'd have been able to manage better.
So fortunately, I have adopted most of the kids and kept in my family most of the kids that we brought in, but there have been a couple. And I think that's common for anyone that does a lot of foster care. we have 13 kids that are part of our family, 4 biological, so 9 who stayed with us. One that did not was just violent, and we had small kids in the home. He wasn't particularly old either, but we had some small kids in the home, and he was hurting them. And we actually still know him, see him. He's a brother of one of the kids we did adopt. We just couldn't adopt him because of that, but still know him and love him. And we always keep that door open. No matter what, you're part of our family, and we will love you, and we'll do everything we can for you. And one other, 2 others that were sexual acting out. So I guess 3 total. One was very, very early on. I actually was at the time doing a lot of work with sexual perpetrators and assessments and things like that. And just assess right off the bat that this child is 12. I'm having a baby. This child is a sexual perpetrator. Got him assessed, got him somewhere where he could get help, and it was the best thing for him. And the other one was another sexual acting out situation. So yeah, it's hard because, I never wanted to do that. And my commitment and one of the philosophies we talk about in the program is just that as soon as a child comes into your home, they're your kid no matter what. So that is your kid that's being taken away. The foster system doesn't really promote that concept that this is your kid. This is someone else's kid you're going to take care of for a while, and then we'll see. No, that's not what the child needs. The child needs, this is my kid no matter what right now. My oldest daughter, because she's now my daughter, she had to leave, went to another foster home, went to a group home for 3 years and came back, and now has given me 3 beautiful grandchildren. So that one came full circle. She came back. So it's hard, if you have that mindset. If you do it right, it's hard every time. There's no way for it not to be. You realize that it's the best thing. You work yourself through that process of understanding this is the best thing for the child and for us. If a child is going to perpetrate on someone else in your home, that's not a good place for them. It's not good for them either. Like, that's not good for them and bad for us. That's bad for them. We don't want them to be in a situation where they're going to do something that's going to cause them shame and ruin a lot of the rest of their life. So, that's, I guess.
You got a lot of questions, Steve. Hope you're ready. Here's another one. Our 5-year-old daughter is strong-willed. This is went on privately on Facebook. Our 5-year-old daughter is strong-willed, and we're not sure what part is being strong-willed or being our daughter. If she doesn't like what she needs to do, she might throw a toy at us. We put her in timeout, and she just starts saying words like, "I'm mad at myself, I'm not good," etc. She came to live with us 14 months ago. She was with her bio mother until day 3 and not fed properly, dirty clothes. Bio mother said she smoked marijuana and that she drank alcohol. So it sounds like the core of that is like, the consequences are pushed in, they put her in timeout, and then she just starts saying things like, "I'm mad at myself, I'm not good." So kind of the self-deprecating behavior. Okay. How do you speak into that?
So first of all, timeouts are not the worst thing in the world. However, they're probably not the best thing either for kids with trauma. I would do a time in is a better option. Have the child sit with you. That I'm just going to sit with you. You're not feeling good. Something feels yucky for you. Especially for young kids, you're doing this because something feels yucky for you. You're just going to sit with me for a while. I'm going to help you feel better. And then she starts the self-deprecating, and that's just a perfect opening for the dance. Just empathy. Oh my gosh, that would be horrible. Tell me about that. That's so sad. It makes me sad that you feel that way. Can you tell me about that? And as she tells you about it, she might open some doors into what's going on in her trauma. And then you just listen and you're curious. Help me with that. Resist the urge to come in and say, "That's not true." Okay, someone that feels like they're worthless and you tell them that's not true, they believe you're lying to them. Don't lie to your child. I know you're not lying to them, but don't do something that will make them, obviously feel like that you're lying to them. So they have to get to the realization that they're not worthless, that they're not bad, they're not all these things. In relationship with you, you can't just tell them that because they will think you're lying to them. So I know we got a lot, so I'm going to try to keep some of the answers shorter.
Right.
Than...
Why does it seem that extreme behavior often follows a good period of calm connecting?
All the time. Yeah, you'll just get to know that, okay, things are going to be really bad tomorrow. Yeah, this is so common because closeness is scary, and you have to commit to it anyways. So closeness is scary to them because the people that were supposed to love them, assuming it's a foster or adoptive situation, if it's something else, there was some trauma that closeness was not safe for them. So to get close to you, that's good. They're trusting you enough to get close to you, and then they need to push you away, and you need to love them through that because it felt unsafe. It just felt too much, and you just say, I get it. It was too much. It's okay. And you might even get to the point of saying, I feel like we're really doing well, really connecting right now, and I know this is going to be scary for you, and things might feel yucky, and you might start whatever that pattern is for them. So you might, if you get to the point where you know it's coming, you can just kind of preemptively kind of dance with that and just say, that's okay if we need to do that. And that may even head it off, but just realize that you don't want to avoid the things that are going to cause that, because the things that will cause that are the closeness that we need to do in the first place. And when you get to know that pattern well enough, you'll get to the point where you can kind of dance with it almost preemptively and really just dance into it and through it.
Another question about kind of what do you do when there's perhaps some physical danger from someone who's stronger than you, a child that's stronger than you. The question is, my 9-year-old son, he's very extreme. He's ADHD, ODD, in his behavior, throws things at me, and his sister hits, yells. If I try to ignore him, he acts up more, just waiting for me to react, which usually will happen after I cannot take it anymore, or he's hurting his sister. How can I keep my cool, but also keep us safe when he's throwing things?
So when a child gets to the point where you can't like physically just pick them up and put them in a room and sit with them, that does get a lot harder. So you have to have a plan for, depending on how old the other kids are, or if you have help. Okay, when this happens, the other kids need to go. You're not going to stay here, and I'm going to make sure that you're safe and okay. Again, so the stress model we talked about a couple weeks ago, I believe, right, Kevin, in one of these? Mm-hmm. So that would be available in the replays on Trauma-Based Christian Parenting in the blog. You go back and listen to the stress model. That will be helpful for you to be able to process how to handle your stress in that situation, because you have to be able to remain calm and really believe that you can handle it. Right? If I don't believe I can handle it, then I'm going to get to the point where I'm just going to react, which is what he wants. So I need to calmly and confidently be able to protect the other kids, stay with this child, stay present with him, protect myself, and dance with him. And that's a lot. And I'm not going to be able to, help you get to that place 100% right now, but those are some resources and some directions to think about and head to.
Right,
one or two more. I don't know if we got how many more we got.
There's like 3 or 4. We'll get to a couple.
Okay.
We've been adoptive from JJ Mooneyham. We've been adoptive foster parents for 29 years and have seen a huge shift over the years of not being able to consequence the children. The children know there are no consequences and even verbalize this now. We've had to have a child removed due to criminal behaviors, and because he was in foster care, no charges were filed. How do you consequence now? So after you're not done it, they call you out because you haven't done it. Now you want to add them. How would you reintroduce that?
I'm trying to figure out if the shift was in the foster care system, basically trying to tell them not to do consequences, or this was a shift within them as parents. But either way, we're kind of, so as I kind of mentioned, consequences, module 10 in the comprehensive program, to fully be able to understand that, I'd have to teach you 9 modules prior to that. The good news is, and I have challenged parents who are heavy on consequences. I have asked parents to go an entire week without consequences. So I had one case in particular, just was not, they were coming to see me every week. They were going through the program. They were coming to counseling. They were doing the whole thing. And they just could not get out of these consequences that they were doing. And it was just making things worse. And I said, we need to just not do any consequences. I want you to do everything else I've taught you and do no consequences for the next week. They came back in the next week and they said, things are better. So things can be better without consequences if you do the steps that we've talked about in the dance model, add some of the other tools from the program. You can do most, if not all of this, without consequences. Then we get into talking about the consequences in a relational way. Consequences, unfortunately, have sort of become this parenting holy grail that if we can get the right consequence, everything will be fine. And unfortunately, it's so much bigger than that. It's about relating, connecting. It's about their heart. And if the consequence isn't making that connection and that security better, then it's really not useful and it may be harmful. So step away from the idea that if we're not doing consequences, we can't do anything good. We can do fantastic, and we can sometimes do better. And if you do get into the full program, we'll get to the point where you have a really strong foundation of doing a lot of awesome stuff. And then you add some consequences in that'll be super effective.
So, man, there's so many, you guys. We're just not going to be able to get to them tonight. This was great. The one thing I'll ask, because I think this is unique and you can just speak into it. Someone was asking just, what do you do when the child is still going back to sources that you have no control over, the sources of trauma? You're dancing, you're doing well, and then they go back to dad's house and there's drinking, there's verbal abuse, there's gambling, there's pornography. Like, how do you as a parent have fair expectations for how to help your child when there's the consistency is only as limited as to your home?
I mean, the first place I go to is, what can we do to not have them go to an environment that's harmful, though? And so that's my protective instinct coming in, but I know that that's not always possible, and sometimes not even advisable if you're going to have to create, on your part, some negative conversations and things like that. The key is for your home to be different, and so decidedly different and healthy that even when your child doesn't verbalize they want it, they know they need it. And as they get older and they get to that point of being able to decide, they may on some level, and they may at times decide to be at the home where they can do what they want, but they have a good, strong, solid foundation of knowing what they need, and that's what they get at your house. And I've seen kids, even my adult kids, that go off and be able to do whatever they want. They sometimes that becomes, Ecclesiastes, it's vanity. It's, it doesn't satisfy at some point. And we keep praying that they will want the real deal and come back to what they need. You got to be careful with how you talk about the other parent's home. You just really need to, be careful not to run them down or be negative, but you can listen and you can be curious about what goes on there and get them to verbalize, what was that like when that was happening? Can you tell me about that? You got to be real careful not to lead them or guide them, because then that could come back and really kind of bite you.
That's good. That's good. Well, Steve, thanks so much for all of your answering. Everybody, thank you so much for all of your questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them tonight. We do want to respect your time and